Thanks.
Or Spencer of Auburn.
On his own teammate?
That's even better. I tried to tell you.
On his own teammate. Oh, no. Oh, no.
You get an extra point for that one.
That's great. I didn't see that one last night.
So Ian Boyd of George Mason. This is for the game. At the buzzer. How do you like
I
that?
gotta watch this again. Were these two teammates in white fighting over the ball? Like, hold on, guys. Come on, guys. George Mason had made... All right, let me see this again. So the ball's loose. Oh, no! Oh, three guys go for it.
Three on the ground.
Come on. Eat that three right.
George Mason hasn't made any of these shows since Jim Larinaga was there.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver caused a lot of buzz this past week. He said he's open to changing the NBA's playoff format to seed the top 16 teams regardless of conference. While a lot of people have been excited about the possible changes, LeBron James seems a bit hesitant. Take a listen.
I think our league has been built the right way as far as when it comes to the postseason. There's been dominant conferences throughout time. It's cool to mess around with an all-star game. You know, we prove that you can do that, but let's not get too crazy about the playoffs.
CC, what's your reaction to LeBron's comments?
The man's a smart guy. Probably not as smart collectively as the guy across from me, but common sense. All right, they've been tinkering with the NBA, with the schedule. But let's not get carried away. Let's float some ideas out there, because what we don't want to see is bi-coastal series, multiple series that are bi-coastal. So if you happen to have the championship in the conference semifinals, and they're bi-coastal, and then you get to the finals, and it happens to be bi-coastal, you're talking about a rough month for NBA players trying to get a crown. I think right now, and especially with LeBron staying in the East, I don't believe it's a problem. If he decides to go West, I believe they have to make an adjustment. But I just believe the time zones and the amount of TVs in the Eastern time zone, you cannot take the chance with the ratings, because that's what it's really about. You got 60% of the television sets are in
East Coast.
So if you remove those, what kind of numbers will we be getting for the finals? Because if you have, let's say, Houston makes it, and Golden State, they make it to the finals. Like, what are we going to do about all those television sets on the East Coast that are basketball fans that decide to zone out because of regionally? So we have to look at that. That's one thing I think the NBA, they will have a hard time overcoming, the sheer numbers, the lack of numbers in the West compared to what's in the East.
This is a moot point if LeBron stays in the Eastern Conference. If LeBron stays in the Eastern Conference, LeBron's been in the league 14 years, as he mentioned yesterday in that interview. So there have been 14 championships. The East has won 6, the West has won 8. So that's one away from being dead even.
Right.
And we do have some recency bias when we talk about, oh, the West has been so dominant. Oh, no, not really. I mean, the best player in the league the entire time, in the sport where it matters the most who the best player is, has been out East. And let's not forget there were some potentially great teams that we would have remembered totally differently if they didn't have to go through LeBron James. How would we think of the 60-win Bulls with MVP Derrick Rose similarly to how we thought of the young Thunder that made the NBA Finals if they hadn't lost in the conference finals to LeBron? What about if the Celtics could have extended the run of the Big Three if LeBron hadn't ended it when he went to Miami? What if the Pistons, who had, by the way, beaten the Lakers in the finals, taken the Spurs to 7, what if they had kept going if LeBron hadn't ended that run when he was in Cleveland? Like the first time around, there have been, and that's not even mentioning a 60-win Hawks team with 4 All-Stars that just got dispatched easily by LeBron and the Cavs his second go-around with Cleveland. So I don't think up until recently we have had this major discrepancy. What has happened recently is this. You have a team on the greatest run in NBA history in one conference.
Right.
And then you also had the Spurs.
On the back end.
On the back end, all of a sudden reinventing themselves. And then some teams trying to climb up there. The Thunder before KD left. The Rockets right now. So it felt like it was this giant discrepancy. But the only reason it hasn't been a giant discrepancy is because you have had a legitimate contender in the East for the last 8 years because of LeBron. If he does go out west, CC, I get what you're saying about the TV deals. But what you don't want is it to feel like every year, though, the NBA Finals is the Western Conference Finals. You don't want that. Now, I don't know what you do about the bicoastal part, about the travel. If to speak to your point, if all of a sudden you have in the conference or in the semifinals the Raptors playing the Warriors, and then you also have the Celtics playing the Lakers if they get better, and that's the semifinals, and in the finals you have another back and forth. That could be a problem, and the TV money is a big thing as well. I understand that. But from a competitive balance standpoint, I don't think it's had a big discrepancy up to this point. If LeBron were to go out west, that could happen.
How much influence does LeBron's opinion have at this point?
I think his opinion is just like anything else. He's the best player in the world, and if he says something that has some type of credence, I'm sure. Look where Adam Silver in the league is. Look at the relationship that we talk about between what they're doing at NBA and the Players Association. So we know the NBA listens to its players. I mean, they've already addressed the referee-player issue that if we were in any other league, it would take at least an offseason and all these owners' meetings to be able to bring it up before we heard about it. So the NBA has been very, very progressive. They listen to their players, and we know that they listen to the best player in the world, in LeBron.
The other thing that this would happen is there are already the NBA. Some people think it's a strength, some people think it's a weakness. But one thing we know about the NBA, it's the league with the fewest upsets in the playoffs. Like, there are shockers in other sports. If you further stack the playoffs fairly, if you will, it's even less likely that you're going to have a 2011 Mavericks situation where a team does kind of, I don't want to say come out of nowhere because Dirk was on the team, but a team have a, wow, how did that team go win the title? Would have been, I guess, the 04 Pistons. That, those situations would be fewer and more far between. I don't know if the league necessarily wants that. What I know they don't want is for all 8 of the best 8 players in the league to be in one conference and in one side of the bracket come the playoffs, and that's what they're trying to adjust for.
Right, and I think they've gotten ahead of the cavalry by even approaching the conversation, because now if LeBron was to go to the West, they've already started the conversation that it would be a lot easier to make that type of change or that type of adjustment. So, but LeBron, he does have weight in everything. And, of course, his decision is going to be paramount as far as what the decision will be.
But the other thing, and this is why when LeBron says it's cyclical, we do have to keep in mind, if we're talking about the next generation of great players, what conference is Giannis in? What conference is Joel Embiid in? What conference is Ben Simmons in?
Yes.
In Kyrie, and I know he's this generation, but he's one of the younger great players in this league. Kristaps Porzingis, when he comes back, all of those guys are out east. The West is top-heavy, but it's not a bunch of great, aside from what they have in Minnesota, it's not a bunch of great young teams. It's a bunch of really good veteran teams. So it could fix itself, especially depending on what LeBron does.
Do you think that this had any indication on the feelings of LeBron with what he's going to do in his decision about what he does?
So I think a lot of people are going to read this and say, oh, LeBron knows he's staying out east. I still believe what I've believed all year. LeBron does not know where he's going to play next year. I think LeBron is a historian and a student of the game. And when he talks about what it would do to the record books, his recall for championships from before he was born is elite. Like, I do think he cares about the record books and the history of the game. I don't think this is about where he's going to be playing next year.
Right, and rechanging the seeding is a little overreaction right now to LeBron potentially going to the West, because 3 of the 4 teams potentially he would go to or out west. So you do have to look at it before he makes that decision.
All right, well, coming up, you might not believe which NBA superstar doesn't care about the standings. That's next.
Care. Wins and losses, CC.
First.
No, it don't matter.
Losers, man.
No, that's why they keep score.
Nah, man.
Best Western rewards you in a flash. With points that never expire, earn a free night fast at over 4,200 hotels worldwide. Book now at bestwestern.com and get a $10 gift card with every stay.
Vibranium secured.
Well done, my king.
Is my right ready?
Of course, big brother. But you